Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being available to be on our meeting. I want to apologize again. I'm in my car about a block and a half from the Keswick fire that's occurring at the castle on Keswick. Everybody is okay. The business owners, of course, that were in there are devastated, and I'll be working with them. But it did not impact the residents. So I apologize that I'm not on a normal camera here, and I will be maneuvering on my phone. I feel like I needed to kind of stay close. So grateful that we could have had this meeting virtually. So before we get started on the meat of our meeting, just want to go over the agenda. We're going to do some housekeeping items first. And then we will do our roll call. We are going to get a deeper dive into what's going on with the current Sisson Street drop-off center in terms of number of workers, what the conditions are, and kind of look at what ideal conditions would be for DPW for a drop-off center. We're going to look at some of the other sites that they are starting to restore just to get a sense of what the next steps are, and then of what they might be. And then at the public meeting, the Less Waste, Better Baltimore plan was mentioned, so we will have a brief on that. I will present some of the alternative sites that came to us from either that testimony or other emails from the last months that we've been working on this. And then we will look at, we'll have some our next dates, and then also have open discussion. I know that in another email we had talked about starting to do some decision making, and what I wanted to do first before we do that is get grounded in what the needs are right now for DPW as we think about the next steps of our work. So I hope that's a workable agenda. I do think that getting that grounding is going to be important first. Also, a grounding in the Less Waste, Better Baltimore plan. And then we will go into thinking about the next steps of our decision-making process. So without further ado, Dana and Khalil, it looks like Dana's having some challenges with her sound. Khalil, did you have anything on the housekeeping side? I will want to, before Khalil goes, or Dana, I want to remind folks that we are not taking public testimony today. It will be a meeting of just the members that will be able to talk. We're glad that so many people are here tonight to observe the meeting. It sounds like this might be a future format. So we look forward to the next steps when we can have additional public comment, but tonight is not for public comment. Dina,
good evening. Yeah.
Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, you're fine. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to thank you all again for coming in today and to be part of this task force. I wanted to emphasize the importance of everybody swearing in time so we can start the process of voting on certain things, or the task force start voting on certain things so we can, just focus on what is important at some point. Just to make sure. I think the next time, and we have the next opportunity for the mayor swearing in the rest of the task force members, I think in a week or so. I think Dana shared that date with everyone.
December 11th is the next swearing in, December 11th at 4.
Absolutely. So please make sure that you do that so we can you know, be productive in the process of focusing on what we need to focus on moving forward. So with that, just send it back to you, Councilwoman.
Thank you. And just wanted to note, I know that we're anxious to get, some good work done sooner rather than later. We were advised that there can't be any official voting of the task force until we're all sworn in. So that's why we needed to, just start to concentrate on some of the research that we want to do to make sure that we can make good decisions. Certainly we can have some, straw votes and stuff like that, but we wouldn't be able to have them official until we get all sworn in. So, yes, go ahead.
No, just one more thing that I just remembered. I just want to also just let the folks know that is, as we come with certain options, additional options, just those options are not easy. Maybe it's an easy for an option to delete or to completely not to include, but as options become more difficult to decide on, those options would require a lot of research at some point. So I just want people just coming up with just options and locations sometimes is it's not that easy just to go ahead and do yes, this will be a good option or not. It sometimes will require a lot of work and a lot of research and work by the folks in the city. Just keep everybody aware of that as well.
Yeah, we'll certainly get to it when we go into some of those alternatives that you all have not been able to examine yet. But we'll certainly want to have those for discussion. And then Dana, if you could put in the chat when the webpage will be available so that all of the testimony and presentations can be posted. Dana, when you get a chance, if you can put in when the website will be available. I was hoping that it would be ready by today so that we can post everything. But let us know when that is. So you'll note the agenda that we hand out. The first part will be the roll call with the housekeeping roll call of task force members. Dana has posted everybody in the chat who is here. We also want to make sure to welcome the Hampton Community Council has a new appointee as well. So wanted to make sure everybody knew that she is on the call. Let me find her. Where is she? Kristen, if you can, you want to just say hello and that you're representing the Hampton Community Council now?
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm representing Hampton Community Council for the task force.
You're on the board, is that correct?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thanks for joining us. I know that the Hampton Community Council is actually meeting right this second, so we're both missing it.
Yes.
But I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
No
Members, you'll recall that Blaze was the representative, and they just wanted to make sure that we had Kristen on. So wanted to do that first. Otherwise, I think we do have a quorum of the members, and Dana had put that in the chat, so we know who's here. So we will continue there. And the next part here is what I wanted to do was to give Director Garbark is here. He's the director of the Department of Public Works, and give him an opportunity to go over some of the slides that we had to go over these slides that the department put together to be able to get a grounding on where we are with what's going on with Sisson Street Center right now. And that will help us get grounded in the next steps in conversation. He's then going to talk about sort of the ideal situation if we could have one for our DPW workers and for the work ahead, and then also go into the Less Waste, Better Baltimore plan. So Director Garbark, do you have access to go ahead and share those slides?
I do. I will do so now.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate
Of
it.
course.
I don't see them yet if you're sharing. There we are. Can everybody see the screen? Great. Thank you very much, Director. Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. As Councilwoman Ramos said, this is just to provide a little more detail on what we're currently doing with the Sisson Street facility, as well as some of our other facilities, and to start baselining some of our needs that we would like and need for DPW. So, let me see if I can. Oh, there we go. All right, so this is the current site, the Sisson Street site. As I mentioned last time, it's an awkward shape. It is about 5.5 acres of property, but it's strangely laid out. And there's basically, for lack of better terminology, I'm going to talk about sort of the three different areas of the site. You know, let's start at the southern side. That's our drop-off site. And then we'll go into the center side, which is the entrance and the queuing area. And then the upper portion of the site is where we have storage and roll-off. So going into some more detail, this is the drop-off site. As you can see, and as most folks know who've been there, is vehicles drive up to a raised concrete platform. It is a rectangle. You then back your vehicle in, and you can drop off debris, rubbish, whatever, from a higher level right into the dumpster. This is the only type of design we have currently at our facilities, and I think that's one of the reasons so many people do prefer this site. So this site can accommodate 10 roll-off capacity for dumpsters to be thrown in there. They are outfitted around the site itself, and tractor trailers then come up around the site and can pick up and drop off these roll-offs as they need. And if we are looking at sort of cramming everyone in there, we could get maybe 16 vehicles. And 16 vehicles would not be desirable because they would be crammed. So we don't ever have that many, but that would be the maximum capacity. And again, the way you go in is you drive straight in and then you back in to the bays, and you're able to then throw your refuse down from higher up. Looking at sort of that center area now, this is our facility, our building. We have our bathrooms, some office space, as well as locker room space. There are 27 total workers at the Sisson Street facility. We have a chief, a superintendent, 5 office staff, 8 CDL drivers, and then 12 attendants around the yard. This also has some area for parking for the folks. It's very limited, but it's in this area as well. And then this is the access way to get to the drop-off site. And here is also where we have our hazardous materials, composting, recycling, and some of the other drop-off areas before you get to the refuse drop-off site itself. Now looking at the top of the facility, as I mentioned, this is an area where we store our roll-off dumpsters as well as the trucks that carry those dumpsters around. We have space for 15 roll-off dumpsters. We could get more in there, but that makes it very difficult to maneuver around. We are looking for and would like to have space for 10 roll-off trucks in this area, and there's just sort of parked in parallel in this area and can be deployed as needed. So that's a quick overview of the Sisson Street facility. As I mentioned, the current conditions, there's 27 workers. It's about 5.5 acres. It holds 15 roll-offs. It can hold more, but that's sort of the desirable amount. 10 roll-off trucks, and weekly tonnage fluctuates from under 10 tons in the winter to nearly 20 tons in the summer. Those are weekly averages. So it averages to about 15.5 tons if you're looking at calendar year from this past January. At this point, we have no renovation plans, and really have not developed detailed costs on this facility. We were not looking to make a lot of investments in this facility. We have done a lot of smaller scale piecemeal things. We've gotten a modular trailer to be used as a locker room facility. But we did do some quick analysis, and the very quick analysis was that we would be looking at, and Deputy Director Robinson can address this a little more if I fail to, looking at about $20 million if we were to do a full rebuild of the entire site. That is facility, that's the parking, that's the layout, that's everything there. Obviously, it would get much smaller if we were just going to do some basic facility upgrades. We'd be looking at $1.5 million, just to bring things up to code and bring things up to a more desirable level. But a full gut rehab would be around $20 million. The desired conditions, obviously, we want to maintain at least the level that we have currently with Sisson Street. Ideally, we would like to have 12 to 16 grade separated bays for vehicles to park. We would like to have space for 15 to 20 vehicles that are queuing in the facility so that they're not spilling out on the roadway. We would need to store the same number of roll-offs and roll-off trucks, that's 15 and 10. And we would ideally like to have a separate ingress and egress, or have multiples of each. That would allow for our tractor trailers or roll-off trucks to go in and not actually have to go and travel through the area where the residents are driving through. We would like to have a clean, well-maintained facility that does support the existing workforce of 27. It would have a storeroom for supplies as well as locker room for crews. Ideally, we would like to have a truck wash bay. We would like for the access to be fairly close to this site, obviously, as has been discussed, not located in a black or brown neighborhood, and have the sale of Sisson Street would need to cover the costs unless multiple sites can be co-located. So basically, it would have to be a net savings. We would not be able to necessarily spend much outside of trying to save money to relocate this. The Less Waste, Better Baltimore plan was discussed a bit. Very briefly, it was mentioned on one of the pages in it, I believe it's page 56, that our drop-off centers or our residential recycling centers are part of our plan to move towards less waste. Some of those recommendations have already been implemented. We are accepting additional items. This includes mattresses, carpet, furniture, homewares, textiles, ceramics, and porcelain. We have accept items that are not currently accepted but are separated. This includes bulky waste, food scraps, appliances, C&D waste. We have started to implement some of these with our compost collection, as well as we do accept other items that we didn't traditionally accept. And the plan did recommend not establishing new drop-off centers, but investing in rehabbing our existing ones. And as I mentioned before, we have 5 of them. We have the Sisson Street facility, we have our Northwest Transfer Station, we have the Bowleys Lane East Side Sanitation Yard, we have the Reedbird West Side Sanitation Yard, and then we have the Quarantine Road landfill. Getting into some of the other facilities, very briefly, this is our Western Sanitation Yard.
Director, can I hold you right there? I wanted to check with task force members if you had questions about Sisson Street directly, given what the director has discussed.
Could we get a bit more information on exactly what that $1.5 million light renovation would entail, and would that fully implement the changes that would be necessary for safety for the workers on that site?
Deputy Director Robinson, do you have that information?
Excuse me, I apologize. I'm a little under the weather, so please excuse my voice. Essentially, what that would allow us to do for the lower amount, which we're talking about, the 1.5 to 2 mil, would allow us to raise the building that is currently there, because that is not in good standing at all. We would not be able to do any renovations on that. We would actually have to tear that down and rebuild. What this allows us to do is tear that down, level the ground, and then put actual modular trailers there. These modular trailers would be sufficient for short-term usage. We say short-term, talking maybe 3 to 5 years. But this is what the administrative offices for the team that is working there, as well as in addition to the restroom and locker room that has already been established there. So it does not do any other work as far as the layout to do the queuing or any of the other areas that we will be looking at trying to update for this property.
But
Okay,
the
just as
modulars that you have, that you're thinking about, I'm sorry if I didn't hear you correctly, the would have the locker rooms and things like that, but they would be modulars like the one you just put in there.
So we would do an additional one that would be more of an administrative building,
Okay.
similar to
Yep.
what we had in Reedbird. If you're familiar with our Reedbird site,
Yes.
we've had modulars over there for a little while, and we're actually
Yep.
turning those down to actually build a better structure and improve that. But if we wanted to go that route, that's what we will be looking at.
Odette, I do have some other questions. Can I just tell them what
Go
they
ahead.
are? Okay.
Go ahead.
So I've actually been getting questions from people in the community. So I just wanted you to know that these are not just my questions, but these
Perfect.
are questions that people submitted to me.
Yep.
So one of the questions, and I don't know if this is going to be addressed or has been addressed, is basically the traffic, the number of actual people that come to Sisson Center, in a 1 year period. If they're repeats, how often do they come? What kind of things are actually being brought there, from public versus, I guess, commercial? I don't know, are commercial trucks allowed to come in or not?
No, this is only for residential.
Only for residential. Okay, that's what I want to make sure. Okay, so the question is, what is the level or what is the actual use of the facility? We know what you tell us what the, the tons of waste is deposited there, but we really don't know what the level of traffic is in terms, I mean, in other words, how many people are actually using it from the vicinity? And do we know where they're coming from? And if they couldn't bring it to Sisson, where would the next closest place be?
So I can start with the last one first. The next closest place would be the Northwest Transfer Station. That's up off of Reisterstown Road, up near Wabash Avenue. That would probably be the closest. However, if people couldn't come here, they would probably go to one of the other sites they know better, Bowley's Lane or Reedbird, which may be closer to where they live. In terms of the actual traffic, it varies significantly. In some of the winter months, we have very, very few, very little tonnage, very little traffic at certain times. And then in the summer, it really picks up. The exact numbers, we have the exact tonnage. I don't know about the exact numbers. Alan or anyone from DPW, do we have any of those numbers? I know we were looking for that, but we have the tonnage, but I don't know if we have the exact numbers of vehicles coming in and out.
Matt, you want to add just this is the busiest, right, of all of our residential locations?
It is the busiest. I just got a message. We are looking for that data now. But I don't have it with me with the actual vehicles going in and out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I have been there many times, and most of the time it's not very busy. I think that probably the busiest days are typically Saturday. You might see a lot there, but normally I don't feel, I mean, based on my own experience, has been over like the last 30 years. It's been, other than the time when we were doing recycling there, it's not that busy. Okay.
Yeah, and it's
you
very
agree with that?
periodic in terms of the fluctuations. Saturdays are very significant. That is when you get queuing out into the roadway. Other times it is not very much.
Okay.
And I think hazardous waste weekends, it's extremely busy.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That helps.
Mary Ann, did you have some more? Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it for now.
Thank you. Good questions.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Marianne.
That's all right. You didn't.
Director Garbark, on one of the earlier slides, I think it said it would not be feasible to build everything we desire or need at the Sisson Street location. Does that mean sort of like if you wanted the truck wash station, the roll off, all that stuff, it just won't fit? Is that what that means?
Yeah. So that, won't fit there. You can see sort of here, this is the only space for administrative building. As Deputy Director Robinson mentioned, we would have to knock this down to be able to put a trailer at that site. The rest of it, it sort of narrows down to a very narrow type of thing, drive area as you go in, and there's just not enough room for this. The current trailer we are building is up here. It's going to be to your lower right. We are putting it's actually there now. It's a new locker room for for our workers. So it's actually constrained some of our roll-off space even more than it currently did.
Okay, so even let's put aside the 1.5 million for a second. Even if you had I forget what the upper figure was for like a total replacement, but let's say like if you re-envisioned the entire site, you'd still not be able to fit everything you desire and need there.
We would be able to do what we're doing there, and we're doing it well. We would obviously desire those additional factors like having the truck wash, additional vehicles, other things. We would not be able to do all of that. We would be able to make the site, improve the site, and we would be able to make it better for our workers and keep the same level of service.
Thank you.
Good questions. Yeah, I had asked director to give us sort of the ideal scenario if we could serve everybody that we're serving at Sisson and have the conditions for the workers, what would that look like? And that's kind of the list that you saw there. Mm-hmm. Any other questions from task force members?
Yes, I had some.
Go ahead.
I was curious, with the 1.5 million, are you able to separate the costs of the additional trailers from the demolition cost itself? I asked that because I wonder, some of the sites we're looking at have buildings on them and they would need to be demolished anyway. So it's just helpful to be able to compare that.
Alan, do you have that?
Even if it's not right now, it could be helpful.
My apologies, because you asked that question again. I was actually looking up the data on the number of visits to
separate cost for demo versus the trip.
The separate cost of
facility.
demo at Sisson solely?
Yes. Demolition cost versus the cost of the additional modular trailer.
So the demolition cost, I don't have that broken down. It's the combination of the two. So the demolition cost basically is going to be around the 800 because we know that the modular units that we're looking at are around another 800,000. So that's what we got the total of 1.5. But you also have to grade and all the other post-construction things in order to prepare to put the modular system down. So I would venture to say anywhere between 700 to 800,000 to do that portion of it.
Okay. And if you were to relocate to a different site.
Keandra, you're breaking up a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. If you're able to relocate, can you hear me now?
Yep.
If you were to relocate to a different site, $20 million figure for building the ideal site, would that be similar to upgrade? Do you know if it's an empty lot, for example, and you need to build the infrastructure, would it be still around 20 million independent of where it is?
It would be in that realm. And I can show you where some of the other facilities that we're looking. Now, there would be demo costs that we built into our other facilities, but you are looking, if you are building from the ground up and not just leasing something or sort of fitting out something that's already there, you would be looking at sizable capital investment in that $10 to $20 million range.
Okay. And then you noted that one of the sources of your income in order to relocate would come from the sale of Sisson Street itself. If you're unable to sell Sisson, where would this income come from?
That we would have to find it somehow internally. So we would either have to co-locate other facilities we're leasing to save lease costs, or we would have to find some other source of revenue internal.
Okay. And one point a lot of people brought up was concern about floodplain. Can you clarify whether Sisson is located in a current floodplain?
It is not. So let me go back to the big picture. So the site where the Falls Road site, as it's called, is the area to the left.
Right.
That little sliver, it's down the hill. This is significantly higher, much higher than the other site that would be close to Falls Road. It is not in a floodplain.
Okay. And another concern folks had was about wastewater going into, will there be additional within that 20 million or 1.5 figure? Are there additional costs with remaining on Sisson and avoiding pollution of our current water?
We have made investments in that. We had some issues recently within the last couple of years. We had an oil tank that we had that was leaking. It did not leak into the groundwater. It was able to be contained, but we have made some upgrades to make sure that the runoff from the site is contained and is being treated.
And of course, a major concern is about staff safety. With the trailer figure, would that be enough to ensure concerns around staff safety? Or when you say the ideal remodel or the ideal facility, do you see where I'm going? Would one or the other not provide the level of safety required?
So the modular units are terrific. We did that this past summer with both Reedbird and Bowley's Lane. They're basically an instantaneous upgrade. Brand new locker rooms, beautiful facilities, safe, clean, healthy. The problem with those is they're temporary. They degrade faster. They depreciate. They're actually considered they're considered vehicles. They have wheels. So there is no appreciation. We can't capitalize them in a capital investment. We have to use our operating funds for it. And there's been a large question about, do we lease or do we buy? Because these things are going to require repair at some point. And how much do we invest in repair of something that's depreciating versus an actual asset where it's going to appreciate when we build it? But in terms of the needs of our workers, it is a immediate, sort of help that gets us to our safe and healthy area. It's just there's going to be more questions and more expense, in the future.
Thank you so much. It's super helpful.
Certainly.
Other questions from task force members?
This is Khalil. I'd like to add just one more thing before as talking about this issue more than anything else. I wanted to make it very clear that there is nothing in the capital plan at this point to do anything about Sisson Street independent of the sale. So unless there is a sale, because as Matt is trying to actually go to the next two projects that are on the process, which is in the next couple of slides, he's going to be talking about investments on Reedbirds and Bowley's Lane and what we're doing exactly in those areas and what it takes to do that. So for the next few years, there are no plan to invest or money for this site or a different site at Bowley's Lane. at Sisson Street. I just want to make that very clear at this point for everyone.
Yep. I appreciate that. So Director, if you can go back to your slide around Less Waste, Better Baltimore. Just for members, the link to the entire plan is on the web, just Google it. And the idea behind the Less Waste, Better Baltimore plan is the zero waste. So in an ideal world, we would have all of our, and correct me if I'm wrong, director, but in an ideal world, we would have all of our sites be able to collect some of these other items that are
Yes.
on this list so that we can do, because the director knows I have a bill coming around deconstruction, so that we could actually take in other materials and make it easy for folks to be able to drop it off so that then we can get it to the folks that will actually recycle it or reuse it. But would you say, director, that right now there's no room for adding any other of these items at Sisson or any other site?
It would be tough. I'm not going to say there's no room. It would be extremely tough to add things that would be at a scale that we would want. We could do small drop-offs of this, that, the other thing, a day here, a day there, but doing some of these additional disposal and collection things we would not be able to do it at a scale that would really make an impact with the current
Right.
site.
And just to remind folks that there is a push now to close the incinerator, and also we are running out of room in the landfill.
Yes.
So there is going to have to be at some point work to be done on the sites to be able to collect more items that can stay out of the landfill or the incinerator, but then also be reused. And I know that we are going to be having a hearing in the Public Health Committee shortly about that, and sort of where we are. So when we're thinking about an ideal site, we're not only thinking about the trash and recycling, but we're also thinking about other ways to get things out of the landfill and the incinerator.
Yes.
So we would have to factor that into the planning.
And to that point, Madam Chair, we've actually have branded our drop-off centers are called residential recycling centers because we really want to emphasize the need to reuse and recycle rather than just to drop off trash and waste.
Yeah, and like I said, with when we changed the building code a couple of years ago, we also said that 70% of the non-hazardous waste, up to 70% of the non-hazardous waste when you demolish a property or you're doing construction, needs to be reused. We have not operationalized that yet, and that's what my bill is going to be about. But we need to have the facilities to be
Yes.
able to do that. So I just wanted our committee to think about that as we think about Sisson itself, and how to be able to make that happen either here at Sisson or another site, or as we think about the future of the work that we need to do. So, and thank you for that explanation of recycling center, because on the website there's like 5 different names of this thing, and we need to kind of resolve that at some point. Not
Yes.
here and not this particular meeting, but just to keep that in mind. So, Director, anybody have questions on the Less Waste, Better Baltimore work? Okay, Director, go ahead with the rest of your slides. Thank you so much.
So we've been sort of talking about what we have now, what doesn't work. Now I'll switch to sort of what is the ideal state and what we're actually currently investing in. So if anyone's been down to our Western Sanitation Yard at Reed Bird, we shut it down this past June. All of the crews were temporarily moved to Neiman Avenue. And this is in anticipation of a complete overhaul of the site. So this is a layout of what the new site will be. And I'll go through each of the elements with this. So there is currently a building there with the men's and women's locker rooms that will be rehabbed and renovated. That will remain. There will be a new facility, brand new office facility with office space, meeting rooms. All of that is going to be constructed right next to it. We are going to add a large area for employee parking. Right now, they were parking on the street, which was inhibiting some neighborhood traffic, and it was being problematic. This is the big element I want to highlight. This is called a Z wall. So if you can see this, the wall is sort of zigzag like a Z. And the way that this is designed is that roll-off containers are put into those notches. And then there are like about 3 or so spaces in each one of those areas for vehicles to then park in. And it goes up and around to the upper side of that facility. So we would be looking at 24 vehicle bays. And also this layout allows vehicles to go one way. They go in, they back in, and then they drive out the other direction. There would be no contraflow, no sort of, conflict going in and out. And this would allow for our tractor trailers and roll-offs to actually be at a lower grade, not ever go in with the other vehicles. The vehicles would be on the perimeter of the facility, and our roll-offs would be in the interior of the facility and would be able to get it and move it out very quickly. This would be the center area for our load packers. We have about 70 to 80 load packers for each site. And then this would be a covered recycling and reuse area. So it's important that we have this be a covered facility so that the recycling materials are not contaminated if there is rain or inclement weather. This is a truck wash station here. And the entire cost of this is $19 to $20 million. This is underway. This is programmed in our CIP. Obviously, this price has increased, and we expect it to be around this. It could increase a bit more, but this is what we're looking on, and this is the type of facility that we're really desiring, and that this will be what our west side facility looks like. Our east side facility at Bowley's Lane is going to be even more. It's a much larger area. That is a old closed landfill. It's a much larger site, and we are doing a lot more construction there. So first, this is the building we are going to rehab. It's an existing office building there. The bones of it are fine. The interior just needs to be gutted and the systems need to be restored. We are going to be building a new administration building with new facilities, new locker rooms, everything in there. This is the truck parking for our load packers. Again, 70 to 80 load packers for the east and the west each. This would be for employee parking and other visitor parking. This is, again, a grade separated Z-wall, similar to Reed Bird, also with 24 bays. And again, tractor trailers would go down to the lower area. The vehicles would be at the upper area, or vice versa. I'm sorry, the vehicles would be at the bottom side. Tractor trailers would be at the top and would be able to move the roll-offs around. The other thing that this facility would have is a small hauler drop-off. Right now, all small haulers in the city, these are the commercial haulers, small haulers, not massive construction, but the small haulers, there's a permit program for that. They all have to go to the Northwest Transfer Station. It completely congests the Northwest Transfer Station and makes it very difficult. This is going to provide a new small hauler drop-off, the idea is, and each of those areas is going to be probably about 6 areas where trucks can get in. So we're looking about 18 areas where trucks can drop off onto a tipping floor that we could then containerize and have as an alternative to the Northwest Transfer Station. And then this is the 2.7 acre compost facility. We got a $4 million grant from the federal government. Staff worked very hard to obligate all of these funds, and we are currently in design with this. And this is the initial phase to build this, 2.7 acres. And these 2 cells down here are future expansion options that would bring the entire location to probably over 4.5, almost close to 4.5, 4.8 acres of compost space. So that's Bowley's Lane. This cost is $33 million. Part of this cost, the reason this costs so much is it's a closed landfill. So there is a contingency cost and additional build out that needs to happen with all of these facilities to make sure that we don't damage any of the cap that's under there that's protecting all of the old rubbish and landfill waste and all from actually getting into the ground. So that's our Bowley's Lane facility. I'll pause there. Are there any questions before we go on to the current sites? Or Madam Chair, do you want me to explain anything in more detail?
Anybody from the task force have any other questions? I guess I had another question about there's the York Road site and two more, right? What are the plans there? You don't have to give me all the details, but do we have capital dollars already invested for those sites?
So York Road is actually just a DGS site with a gas station and a yard for vehicles. We're not doing any drop-off facility there.
Okay.
The Northwest Transfer Station has gotten a lot of upgrades. We have had to put a lot of capital costs into improving some of the equipment that we have there. The problem with Northwest is we are completely stuck with that location. There is buildings and everything all around it, and we cannot expand anymore. So we have kind of maximized what we can with that facility. And the last one is the Quarantine Road landfill, and we're undergoing a $50 to $70 million enhancement to completely expand the landfill down there.
Right, but that you can't go anywhere else after that, right? I mean, you're running
And
out
that's
of room.
That is it.
Yeah.
I just have one quick question.
Sure.
I may have missed it. What was the investment in the Western Sanitation on Reedbird? Did you say what was going on there in terms of capital expenditures? Yeah. Okay.
About $19 to $20 million.
19 to 20. Okay. Okay.
And that is right now. That's not
right. That's current.
Any tariffs, that's right now cost. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Director, just maybe for the public, it would be helpful. Could you say how many bays that are elevated exist at these current sites now?
There are 0. These sites are right now, before we close Reedbird and currently at Bowley's, we have roll-offs that are on the ground. Vehicles drive in. We have attendants who help people load them into the containers. It is very inefficient. It is actually dangerous. People can sometimes fall. Other times people have to heave stuff over the side to get it in the containers. It is something that we don't like. Our crews don't like it. It's very dangerous, and it's something that these are going to make it a lot better, a lot more efficient, and a lot safer for everyone to use these facilities.
Thanks. I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe Northwest has the elevated ones either. I haven't been up there since the investment.
I don't believe they do. However, for our transfer station, we actually tip, because there's a couple things that happen. There's the small haulers, there's the drop-off center, and then there's actually a transfer area for city trucks. We go in there and it's a tipping floor. We actually all of our recycling is tipped in the transfer station, and then we have front-end loaders that actually push it into compactors, which compact it, then put it on a tractor trailer, and it's taken to our recycling processing facility. But in terms of the residential drop-off, no, it's dumpsters. It's not grade separated. The only one that's grade separated right now is Sisson Street, and I think that's one of the big reasons people really like that facility.
Makes sense to me. And so that would be essentially, you're saying, in an ideal world, if everyone parks perfectly right now, we have 16 vehicle bays, but you're about to add 48 vehicle bays on top of that at these other locations. Thank you.
Yes, that's correct.
Director, do you believe that if, just as a scenario, if there was, given the tonnage that and the use of Sisson Street, would the other sites be able to absorb everything that is coming into Sisson Street? I mean, you're doing these upgrades for ease of not just the residents, but mostly for for our workers.
So I'll give sort of two answers. The technical side is absolutely. These other sites, Reedbird and Bowley's, get a fraction of the volume that Sisson gets. So this will more than accommodate that additional use. The problem is there will be a transition period for people who are using Sisson to then transition to these new facilities. Mm-hmm. How long that will be, I don't know. There is a very real concern that there could be illegal dumping during that period, that there could be other issues during that period. But the goal, the big picture, is to have our yards where we're having our other facilities focused there, to have these drop-off centers there as well, to really be able to handle all of this stuff. That is the big picture, the long-term picture. But again, how we get there, how we transition to that is part of the question, and how long that transition is going to last.
Right. So how long are these facilities undergoing renovation? I thought it was like a 5-year time horizon. Is that right?
So yes. So Reed Bird is on the faster scale. We're about 60% design. We're expecting 90 to close to 100% design this spring. And then we'd be looking at an 18-month to 2-year or so construction period. That's assuming everything goes perfectly. There are still a lot of questions out there in terms of some of the design elements and some of the permitting and some of the other things. Bowley's Lane is going to be a little longer. We're probably looking at the earliest 5 to 6 years with that, because there still is a bit of a funding gap that we have to work on Bowley's Lane.
Right. I mean, I guess the other thing is that, though, as you mentioned before, Sisson is so popular for a couple of reasons. One is it's very easy to find. It's centrally located, but also just the design of the grade, which it sounds like you're trying to do in these other sites also.
Yes.
But the convenience is definitely something that I think residents, think about.
Absolutely.
But it's good to know that you think that they could probably absorb. So that's
on
important.
paper, yes.
It's very
This
helpful.
will more than accommodate that.
Mhm.
The convenience factor, some of the other factors, those are all questions that.
And
will raise some question.
you're adding room on these 2 or 3 sites for the possible, other materials.
Yes, this would be where our covered recycling and reuse area would be. That would be a new site that we're putting there. And then here, there would be, if you look at the bottom area with those purple rectangles that are hollow, that would be where there would be drop-off centers, recycling drop-offs area. So you would drive in, you could then back into the bay, and then on the other side could be where you could drop off your recycling material up there.
Mhm.
And then obviously we have the compost facility.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Is Bowley's also going to be a transfer station for, and maybe you said this, and I'm sorry if I missed it, for our sanitation workers as well?
At this point, we don't think so. We were originally thinking that would be the case. That cost would be over $70 million. We did some test samples. We went down, I think it was close to 100 feet, and we were still finding refuse. So to build a tipping floor and a compaction pieces of equipment to provide all that pressure, we would be having to pile drive below this all the way into the bedrock. That could be upwards of 100 feet. And that was raising the cost to over $70 million. What we thought is that the biggest issue, if we could get some pressure off of the Northwest transfer facility on the small hauler side, that we could free up some pressure over there for our vehicles, and then look at the Quarantine Road landfill to make things a little more efficient down there.
That makes sense, because I remember the discussions around, being able to make sure that our sanitation workers could go home at night at a decent hour.
Exactly.
And that, because of the wait times up at Northwest and at quarantine, it was not possible for them to do so. And so it sounds like your new plan, given the cost, is just to relieve Northwest a little bit from the pressure relative to the smaller guys, and have that over at Bowley's.
Yes.
Okay. And you think that will resolve the time issue in terms of making sure our folks get home at a decent hour?
I think that will only be resolved when we look at how we're going to deal with the future of the landfill and making improvements there, because I think there still needs to be a large drop-off or transfer facility for refuse, and having all of the landing capacity down at the Quarantine Road landfill makes a lot of sense for how we redesign that and how we use that. So I think those 2 items will be able to get where we're going. There's also a lot of other private facilities in East, West, South Baltimore that there is the potential for a private entity, us engaging in a public-private partnership where they can assist with some of our transfer operations as well.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, yes.
Okay. I think I got a little mixed up when you the different improvements. I just want to make sure I have the right information. So
Sure.
you're currently investing 19 to 20 million at Western Sanitation Yard with the hopes that construction will be complete in about 3 years.
Yes.
And then the Eastern Sanitation Yard, there's an investment slated between 30 and 50 million.
It was
33, sorry.
yeah, that's where we stand now. We were only at 30% design. So this
Okay.
is all conceptual. We still need to do a lot of geotechnical analysis and other things that could raise the cost, but this is where we stand now. But it is not the 70 that we were originally anticipating.
Oh, okay. And then are there future plans for investment at Northwest and Quarantine Road?
Quarantine Road, yes.
Okay.
Right now we are looking at it's 50 to 70 million dollars to expand the landfill into a new cell. The question that I have, the question that a lot of us have is that worth it for just 10 to 15 years more life cycle? Or is there something different that we can do with that facility in terms of better transfer operations, better reuse, better other items, ideas that we have there? We're currently engaging in a study to see what different disposal options are available to us. We have a tremendous amount of land down at Quarantine. We have a lot of opportunity there. And I think this is an interesting time with all these other investments to really rethink how we look at our disposal operations and get out of the incineration and the landfilling if we can.
Okay, that's really helpful. So if I'm understanding correctly, Western Sanitation Yard and Eastern Sanitation Yard, that is already being funded through a CIP source, but there's more study to be done for code. So it's not, guaranteed or slated for like a specific date necessarily of beginning that work.
We have been putting that away. So there is a dedicated landfill trust fund that we've been putting money into for a long time. So there is money there. The 50 to 60 million has been invested there. We are looking at within the next 4 years, we would need the additional capacity of the landfill. That's why this is an opportune time to examine how we're looking at all of this and consider ways that we might want to shift our focus.
Okay. So the question around Sisson right now is the initial thought was if we sell the land and we relocate it somewhere else, that's how the funding would be acquired. But with the other areas, the way it's been funded is through a CIP fund or through a land built over time to be able to make the improvements. Okay. And how long? Just a question. How long did it take to build that fund for Quarantine?
So we have been contributing money since the landfill opened. So the last improvements have been 3 decades or so.
Wow.
So we have been putting money. It's a combination of operating funds and capital funds every year into this account.
Okay. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Okay. One quick question. You mentioned private facility transfer operations. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit? Okay.
So there's so municipal waste is only one small portion of the waste that Baltimore City generates. There's the commercial sector, industrial sector. That's all privately handled, whether it's through waste management or another facility. They have their own transfer and operations centers. And there's a number of facilities around the city where they do exactly that. They transfer, they containerize, they provide the resources and the recovery for private operations. And that is something we have been approached many times in the past by these facilities and these businesses as opportunities to engage in a public-private partnership or look at commercial investment and all that could help invest in the private sector for some of these facilities.
So are you actually saying they could reduce some of the load that you're dealing with? Is that what you're saying?
It could. The question would be the cost.
The cost.
This
Okay.
would obviously be for profit. So
Right.
what is that? Is there a cost number? Is there a value that we could figure out that would make this workable for us? Obviously, there's an opportunity cost for lost time and all of that stuff. So if there's a way to factor all of that out, I think there is a realm of possibility where something like this could work.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thanks.
But on the
Certainly.
other side, though, there could be an opportunity or not where I didn't realize that some of the commercial guys, unless they're paying the tipping fee, are taking their own waste elsewhere.
Yep.
So
There is a fee that the city charges to have a transfer station for private use, but a lot of these operations are taking things out of state, they're containerizing them, they're sorting them, and it's the city side is only one part of the larger piece.
Okay.
wow, I'd really like to know where Johns Hopkins University takes its trash.
I think a lot of us would like.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I've got my own little battle there. Any other questions from
They
other?
could come to us. There's nothing saying they can't. They would pay the tipping fee, but there are a lot of other private entities that take their waste elsewhere and use Waste Management or other places to haul things away and take them elsewhere.
That's super interesting. I guess I never put two and two together. Wow. Okay. Any other questions for the director from task force members? And I apologize. I had my phone, I'm in the car. So of course I'm nice and warm, but that doesn't do very well with the phone. So, okay. Director, this was really helpful. I really appreciate the opportunity to have these discussions. And I'm sure that members are going to have further questions as we kind of reflect on the presentation. And so if members, you do have those questions so that everybody benefits from the answers, if you don't mind just going ahead and putting them in on the email with everybody, because then we can all benefit from the answers. But this does give us, I think, a grounding of kind of what the needs are for the department.
Madam Chair,
yeah.
It looks like Councilman Torrance had a question.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Councilman. In the chat?
In the chat. I think he asked about, has an analysis been done about the impact of shifting from Sisson? No, that has not happened. That's one of the big questions about what that impact would be. Technically on paper, these other facilities can handle the waste, but how that would impact and the time it would take to adjust has been a question and a concern that we have about doing that. And that was one of the concerns about just having the facility here today, gone tomorrow. It would be a shock to the system. There would probably need to be some sort of gradual or accommodating or period of time to wind it down, but we have not done a deep analysis on that.
But I think the councilman's question is slightly different than that, which is,
I'm sorry.
If I read it properly, the question is, does not having a facility sort of more centrally located then cost us in other ways, like air pollution, because people are going to be driving further? And I don't know that anybody's done that analysis.
I don't know. I don't know if we've done that analysis. At some point, you're getting into very specific sort of factors and details with people waiting in queuing lines and other things. It's something I'm certain we could look into and we could start sort of addressing. Yeah.
I'd like just to add one more thing, if possible. That is, for the size of our city and with its population geographically in terms of land, the number of locations we have is more than what other places do.
That's right. It's true.
Just to give you a perspective on
well, that is That may be true. I mean, I still think we need to consider the convenience factor relative
Absolutely.
to getting to all these places. Yeah.
Yes.
And the other fact with this is the benefits districts use Sisson.
That's correct.
So
That's
that
right.
would,
But
going
I think
elsewhere throughout the city, would likely increase costs for the benefits districts.
Right. That's true.
but it's only I thought it was only Midtown and Charles Village, but all of the benefits do use Sisson Street.
I thought downtown did as well. I'd have to verify that. I know Midtown and Charles, but Midtown and Waterfront. Okay, yeah.
Right. Midtown does.
I think that is an important thing to figure out, whether all the benefits districts use that or not, because I think some of them might take their some of them have compactor loader type trucks, and they may take them to the incinerator.
We can get that information quickly. Yeah.
But I do know for a fact that Charles Village Community Benefits District does in fact use Sisson Street, and there would be a significant increase in staff time to drive out to any of the other locations.
I did have a quick question because I wasn't sure if we were trying to shift past are you going to go through the rest of the slides that are on here, or are we trying to shift into different spots? I just
So the
wanted
rest
to
of the slides are just the facilities we talked about last time. I didn't know if you all wanted to go into them anymore, or there's nothing new to present. That's the other facilities we talked
Just
about last time.
if you don't mind
Yeah.
taking a second to go through them again quickly, and then that'll lead into to my slides that will have some alternatives that other folks have talked about.
Yeah, because I have one thing to add to the Falls Road location that I want to make sure is on the concerns list that everybody has there as well from the council.
Yep.
Thank you.
So sites we talked about, I mentioned last time that we've looked at, and again, this is not an exhaustive list. There were literally dozens of sites. Some were just sort of spitball ideas that we said, no, that doesn't work. This doesn't work. These are sort of the 6 sites where there's been some analysis. And I'm not saying good, bad, or different. I'm saying, is it feasible? Is it possible to locate the facilities there? So the first location is another closed landfill. It would be at Monument and Edison Highway. This is in East Baltimore. It is a city-owned site, so we wouldn't have to buy it or lease it. It is a very large site, 28 acres. However, it is quite far away from the current Sisson Street. So I don't think that it would not be convenient for people who use Sisson to then go out to this location. It is also located on a closed landfill. As we're seeing with Bowleys, building anything on a closed landfill is very expensive because you don't know what's underneath. That has raised the price probably 50, 60, and even higher percent to actually build on those sites. So that is another downside with the closed landfill at Monument and Edison. We looked at 400 West North Avenue. This is a parcel of property, that is behind the a light rail facility off of North Avenue. It is centrally located. This would be a great use of existing industrial space, and it is a fairly large area, 8 acres. It's kind of awkward. Some of the concerns are that it is private property, so there would need to be some sort of acquisition of it, whether it's a lease or a purchase. MTA has raised security issues. There was a question last time about the number of trains that do go into this facility. I did speak with Administrator Arnold last week. She said that all light rail trains end up being stored here after hours. So this is the light rail storage yard. That was according to the MTA administrator. And then there is a issue with the ingress egress. If you look at the red line going into the facility, it sort of does this 90-degree turn. It actually goes over the tracks, and those are catenary lines. And one of the concerns that the MTA raised was they've had issues with other construction vehicles hitting those lines with debris coming out the top, or the bed being raised slightly, and then it shuts down the system. There are also issues with the Frederick Douglass Tunnel being constructed. There would be a lot of disruption in construction equipment that would be right in this space. So it would make getting in, getting out very difficult and a lot more time consuming and somewhat inefficient. We also looked at 560 West North Avenue. This is where the Salt Dome is. And this is the area directly above the Salt Dome. So again, it's centrally located. It is city owned. We wouldn't have to buy it. Problems is it's smaller. So we would not be able to have all of the other stuff that we have at Sisson now. We would only be able to do a drop-off center. So there'd be no storage. We really wouldn't be able to build a large facility or store anything there. There would be extensive excavation that would have to happen. This area, if you know the area, is extremely, it's very hilly. So there'd have to be a lot of retaining walls and excavation and other things to shore up this facility to be able to handle all of this traffic. City DOT raised concerns about the amount of excavation could actually impede their vehicles in how they circle the salt dome to get the salt. There was also ingress egress concerns from the public going into this facility. Also, it would all be the same location. DOT would go in and out the same way. And there were concerns about just capacity congestion. And the biggest thing that really nixed all of this is the Frederick Douglass Tunnel is actually there's going to be a ventilation shaft right in the middle of that red circle. So that basically, that nixed the whole idea basically with that. And then we looked at Howard and 25th Street. This is a large area, about 4.5 acres. One of the benefits of this is it's a large, it's not a sort of awkward shaped, elongated parcel. It's a large sort of bulbous parcel. So there's a lot of space inside. It is centrally located. It has an updated building. The building is very nice. It's updated. The challenges, the concerns are that MTA is currently leasing this for a bus transfer yard. It is adjacent to a residential area. And we had some discussions and community members, there was some opposition to this from community because of its proximity to residential areas. And then the last is obviously what everyone is aware of is the Falls Road site. This is right on the opposite side of the Sisson Street site. It is a large open area, about 4.3 acres. It is very close to the current site. It is centrally located, though you do have to go down sort of these meandering roads a little bit to get to it. One thing, right now, there are some very old facilities, tanks, other things on the property. If we were to improve this site, all of those issues would be brought up to grade. There'd be new stormwater runoff management, everything like that. So it would address some of those issues that are there. The concerns, obviously, we do not own it. We would need to lease it or purchase it. It is partially located in the floodplain, as everyone has been talking about. It is close to the Jones Falls watershed, the Jones Falls itself, as well as the future streetcar museum. And there would be increased traffic on Falls Road. And I know that that is a scenic area where a lot of people like to bike, walk, other things like that. Yeah. Those are all the sites I went over very briefly. Happy to answer any additional questions, but this is just a quick refresh of everything we talked about.
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump in here really quick and just make sure that we add here that the community also opposes this as well as one of the concerns, and make sure that that is on this as well. Yep.
I will make sure that's on there.
Yeah, we had mentioned the concerns mostly, because there's been a lot of them. Thank you, Director. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time on this. If I can get my slides to show, Director, if you don't mind taking them off, great. I'm going to try. If somebody could let me to present, that would be super. Whoever's hosting the meeting, I need permissions. Great, thank you. I did share these slides let me see here. I cannot figure out how to do this on the phone. So I'm just going to go over them. I did send them out to everybody. So you should have them in your email inbox. And these are ones that I had collected from various emails, that kind of thing. They have not been examined at all by anybody. So just keep that in mind as we take a look at these real quick. The first one is Guilford Falls Way. So there is under the JFX a a piece of land that is not utilized by DOT. You can see in the slides if you have them in front of you, and I'm sorry I can't seem to share from my phone. There's also a photo and a code map, and I added some of the benefits. It's city-owned property, protecting from weather. It's a flat site. Some of the drawbacks, 83, even though we maintain it, is still a federal highway, and we think that there may be some challenges with what can be under federal highways. We have to determine the traffic queuing, and it's not necessarily centrally located. Someone had suggested, I think people know, if you go along the Wyman Park Drive Bridge, as you're going to the park, there's an entrance that goes down over by the tracks, and there's no information as to who owns that area, but it goes along the Druid Park Drive. I don't know how big it is or anything like that. So you can tell from the slide where that is. It may be city land. It's away from various neighborhoods. It is used by DPW because there's a ramp that DPW controls. There's really no clear entrance to get in or out of there, and no queuing. I have two more to share. Someone suggested the old ball fields at Druid Hill Park. I think that's probably an automatic no, not to have something like this in a park, but wanted to suggest it anyway. And then the 401 West 26th Street, there's a big lot there. It is privately owned. It's along Sisson Street, and there's already been some neighborhood opposition to that one. So you can take a look at those slides. If there's any that the task force would like to have further analysis of, please let us know. Councilman, you got a question? Councilman, you have your hand up. If you're speaking, I can't hear you.
I think he was having trouble unmuting, and he did put in the chat that he couldn't see the slides, so it might be in reference to that, but I know
I was not able to share them, but they are on the email that I sent this afternoon. So you'll get a chance to take a look at those. For some reason, I'm not able to share those slides on my phone.
Okay.
But take a look at those and we can discuss them at another time. I believe we wanted to end this at 8:30, so I do want to just take a second to talk about the next few dates. We do have the holidays coming up. We originally had November 24th as a meeting date, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving. I just wanted to take the pulse as to whether folks want that meeting, if we want to go ahead and try to meet next week with any additional information, or go ahead and just go into our December times and take a moment to just do some reflection on the information that we have today. Any thoughts on our next dates?
I'm okay with the 24th. I don't know if others are, but
yes, I'm also okay with the 24th.
Yeah, I think meeting in 1 week is going to be tough to organize some
yeah,
information.
I agree. Yeah, that's already booked.
So we'll stick with the 24th. We may end up making it virtual also, for convenience, just if people are starting to move in the traveling direction before Thanksgiving. And then the other dates are there on the agenda. I believe we have the, let me try to get to it real quick.
December 8th
And the 8th and the
22nd.
22nd. I know it's starting to get cold, but I really would like a site visit to Sisson and maybe a couple other of these other sites. And obviously we cannot do them in the evening. They would have to be during the day. And I would imagine that residents here, everybody here's working, so we might have to might have to plan a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon before it gets too cold. If you all are okay with that, we'll go ahead and start to plan and sort of pull out some dates for a site visit to Sisson and maybe a couple other of the sites, just to get a sense of what we're talking about.
That sounds like a good idea. I think it'd also be helpful to see what the area around the site looks like currently and what concerns maybe residents would have with a site like this.
Yeah, let's see if we can get like a van tour or something, because then we can also look at what's happening over at some of the other sites. We'll take a look at that, but I do want to try to do it before it gets too cold. And that will help us with some of our deliberations. So there was other information that was asked for today also, and I will share that in the emails. One of the things was looking at this idea of whether or not it was, we got a lot of emails between August and now. My inbox had, almost 1,000 emails that I received. And then of course I like to answer my emails. So I did try to answer all of those. And my staff went through them and saw that we had, let me see if I can get to the spreadsheet that she sent me. Nope. And I can get the information, but I do have it that folks can see that we did have significant emails about this. And I do want to go check on the site. So total number of emails that came to me directly about Sisson Street, this is through my emails, is 664. And 493 of them mentioned opposing closing Falls Road. And the others mentioned 592 mentioned Falls Road completely. So I can make sure that I have that for you in a spreadsheet that makes sense. But I know that we were asked for that information. So what we'll do for the 24th is have a discussion around some of these alternative sites, maybe dig a little deeper on some of the questions that you might have on, less waste, better Baltimore. We could even do a straw poll. We can't really officially vote, but do a straw poll around some of the sites that we're already considering, whether or not that makes any sense. In the meantime, if you could give me your questions about the 4 that are in the slides, anything that you want DPW to take a look at, that would be helpful. Members, are there any other questions or concerns? Meeting December 22nd, Sandy, is not a good idea. So that is a good point. So we'll plan on having in December a one meeting and a site visit, and that will be our work in December. Councilman Jones, you raised your hand.
Yes, it's really one quick question. Since next meeting we're talking about alternative locations, would it be a good idea for some of us to kind of put out there in the open if anybody have any alternative locations to kind of suggest them now. That way we can present them later on. Because I think some people may think of it, but really just don't know when we might be looking for them or when we could consider them. Would it be a good idea to kind of put something out there or like ask folks who have been engaged and involved, what are your alternative locations so we can bring them to the next meeting?
I'm all up for any ideas. So if anybody can certainly do that. I do want to start narrowing the focus also too, so that we can have a conversation around the three options that the mayor has asked us to take a look at, which is keep the site where it is, close the site completely, or move it somewhere else, and where that might be. So I want to start to narrow down some of our options as well. But if anybody's got a brilliant idea, let's certainly take a look at it.
I completely agree with you on that. That's why I think it may be a good idea for us to kind of throw out there. If you have an idea you would like for us to consider, please let us know now. And that way in the fourth quarter or the third quarter, while we're going down the road, we're narrowing it down. People don't just start throwing other alternatives, ideas out, you know.
Right. So you're asking like, let's capture everything now and narrow
Yeah.
down. Yeah, sure. I think that's good homework. I also think that several of the task force members are representing organizations, so you can take some of this information back and that you got today. Sorry for the background noise, and be able to go be able to get any additional questions. So we'll meet on November 24th for another meeting. We will have a site visit planned for Sisson and some of the other sites, and then meet once in we'll have two meetings in December. One will be the site visit and one will be the regular meeting, because I agree with Sandy, meeting on the 22nd is probably not a good idea. So I appreciate that. Anything else before we close the meeting?
Councilwoman, just going back to your spreadsheet, you might want to look just to make sure the replies that you gave are not included in there. Just looking through the PIA request I got, just based on the numbers, you might be including replies that you sent to people in those mentions. I'd also just say what I saw is just overwhelming opposition to the relocation to the Jones Falls Valley. I think literally in that PIA, I only saw one supportive email for the relocation from the leadership of Wyman Park South. I don't think there was any other supportive email I saw. I don't know if that's what you found too.
There's one other from a gentleman in Tuscany, Canterbury. But you are correct.
So
the
two.
Overwhelming is, the overwhelming is just to not even consider Falls Road. And my hope is that when we all can vote, that we can narrow down the field.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, we'll take a look at the emails again. And I know you're looking through them too. So, yep.
This may be a moot point at this juncture, but I did notice during the testimony in the last public meeting, a lot of people had concerns about plans that the city already had through the Department of Planning or the Department of Parks and Rec for a park that would be interrupted by any plans on Falls Road. And I was just, when we were making that list of potential experts, I noticed that those departments weren't included. So just putting it out there that if for whatever reason the discussion continues, they might be valuable in providing some input.
There has been no planning for any park in that site. I think that was a recommendation to go ahead and do that at some point. The Friends of the Jones Falls does have dollars and is starting a strategic planning process for the Jones Falls watershed. And so a park might be something that comes out of it. But planning department and Rec and Parks have not been planning for anything in that site.
Councilwoman, I think Keandra might be referencing the Jones Falls Gateway project. And I do think it might be useful to maybe have DOT come and present. I know they did like a really big survey for the Jones Falls Gateway project to get community input around it. It might be useful having them present the results of that survey to us.
And that's the lower part of Falls Road. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's essentially from the Streetcar Museum up to Penn Station.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah. Are there any additional speakers that folks would like to hear from for next time as well? Director, I would really love to hear from a worker, DPW worker, if somebody might be available.
Yep, that shouldn't be a problem.
Great.
We can work on that.
But I think also Keandra's larger point is like, are there any other plans in the area that we should be aware of? And that is a good question. So that would be the Gateway Plan, Jones Falls Watershed folks. And if we can think of any others, that probably would be helpful for our deliberations. Okay, great. I think we got a plan for next time and moving forward into the end of the year. I believe that I know that I have not had a chance to talk with Mayor Scott about this yet, but I do plan on talking with him, and we're going to need some extra time for our deliberations. And I would imagine that's not going to be a problem. I know that he knows that we want to do this correctly. So. Thank you all for participating this evening. I thought this was really great, and we certainly will follow up with the next steps. And I'm going to go check out the site and see what's going on there. Great.